So Patrick Chapin is playing a blue-black control deck. It's pretty stock. I'm looking over his list right now. Nothing here is too out of the ordinary, except are those Memnites in his sideboard? They are. So he can.
I'm sorry.
Wow. So let's go over Chapin's sideboard real quick.
That's crazy. So he's got. So it's mostly stock. He has Mind Rot, which is pretty good against the Valakut decks. That's Patrick Chapin on your screen right now. And but he's got Memnite, which is a really interesting inclusion. Maybe just there to block the Boros guys. You just lay it down. It's like a weird removal spell.
Yes. What is this Vampire Nighthawk Listener? What is this? Skin render. Okay.
Skin render. Yeah, Chapin's handwriting is way too nice for a deck list. But so anyway, for those of you just joining us, this is Gavin Verhey, joined by Joey Pasco for SCG Live, coming to you live from San Jose, California for the Star City Games Open Series. On the right of your screen, we'll see Patrick Chapin, the innovator, great deck builder, Pro Tour player, one of the most popular Magic players out there. On the left, we'll see newcomer Carlos Alay playing blue-white against Chapin's blue-black. This is round 5 of 9, and let's see what's going on. So it looks like Chapin's going to open with Inquisition Kozilek.
Yeah, it's
let's see, is that Day of Judgment, Jace? Oh,
Gideon. I saw Gideon in there, but Chapin is a frequent guest on Yo MTG Taps. For those of you who'd like to listen to some interviews, we've had him. I had him last year during the Magic Cruise. Had him on during the summer at Nationals. I had him on again a little bit after Nationals, talking a bit about Pyromancer Ascension. He was also on episode 50. And he was also on, I believe, episode 48, where we were at the StarCityGames.com Invitational. So, like I said, he's a frequent guest on Yo MTG Taps. Good friend of the show.
Okay.
So we go with he preordained on turn 2, along with that Inquisition. What did he take with the Inquisition? Did you see?
Okay.
Because
he didn't take anything. There just wasn't anything that cost in
wow.
the right range.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't see it. Can't see a graveyard.
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Chapin playing uber fast here. He's already got a Jace in play before we even finish discussing what happened on turn 2. Mystifying Maze, that's an interesting conclusion.
Yeah, some of the Worlds deck had Mystifying Maze too, and they said they were pretty good for them.
Yeah, I played a bit with that card, and I was impressed with it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Maze of Ith. Now this is no Maze of Ith, but it was one of my favorite cards back when, well, not necessarily when it was standard legal. It was when I was still playing casually in the mid '90s. But seeing a throwback to Maze of Ith with Mystifying Maze, it's pretty cool. So Jace, here we go with the Jace trade here.
If you want to play EDH/Commander,
Chapin draws preordained. He's got another Jace in hand, it looks like. And he goes, looks like he's going for it. Another Jace.
0 voting.
And he goes Brainstorm. Did he Brainstorm with the first Jace? I kind of missed that. He's moving so fast.
Yeah, these players, I mean, they know they're playing a control mirror. They know they're going to have to play fast. They don't want to pick up a draw.
I've always been impressed with how fast Patrick plays. I noticed it at first when I was on the Magic Cruise with him last year, watching him pilot. He was pretty much play testing his blue-white list that he ended up playing at Pro Tour San Diego right after the Magic Cruise, and I was very impressed with the speed of his play. Oh, my bad. That was from the volume from the MTV ad here. There you go. What's that? Yeah, maybe YouTube was muted. Or maybe that sound was just terrible. If you saw the...
man.
Let's see what's happening here. Besides Rashad making fun of me. If you guys saw the guy in the red shirt in the background of the shot of Carlos a moment ago, that is Inkwell Looter. He walked away since then, but he's one of the artists who kind of does a lot of cartoon sort of caricatures of different Magic cards. Check out his blog. I believe it's inkwelllooter.blogspot.com. So we've got a fencer in play.
Pod number 2, please make your way over to the Chapin Dragons at the side events registration table. EDH pod number 2.
Oh, and they're using the classic ripped-up paper tokens to keep track of Vencer's Planeswalker status. That's classic. You're playing Planeswalkers and you don't have die. Joined in the booth by Glenn Jones. For the moment, Gavin's stepped away. How's it going, Glenn?
It's going good. What do you think of Vencer as a control threat?
I love Vencer. I mean, I love Vencer in general. I
feel like he's a kind of bizarre design. Like his abilities don't seem to mesh at all. Really.
Yeah.
But they are certainly strong, and it's kind of his plus is actually one of the weaker pluses, I think. But at the same time, it gets him up there so fast, and his ultimate's just a backbreaker. I don't think I've ever seen anyone crack it and lose.
Now, someone, I believe it was Michael Jacobs, said the great thing about Vencer is it forces you to play with good cards already. Because of his plus ability, it makes you want to play with cards like Spreading Seas and Wall of Omens and things that you can get a benefit out of blinking. And I think even though his plus ability seems weak, it really is dependent on your strategy. It's got a lot of possibility for synergy. I was playing around with a blue-white list that had Vencer and Elspeth and Sun Titans, and it was just absurd, the kind of things where you'd be playing, Sun Titan with Journey to Nowhere and Spreading Seas and all those kinds of things, and you're blinking the Sun Titan to get back Journey to Nowhere or get back Tectonic Edge, and it's just the synergy, like the potential for synergy with Vencer is what impresses me.
One of the things I actually really like about him is, especially against Blue-Black, which typically only had like Seagate Oracle as a little guy, like his plus can actually race the Oracle, getting to ultimate even against a beater.
Yeah,
leaving
that's a good
the Blue-Black deck just has to Creeping Tarpet every now and then just to keep him in check.
Yeah.
And every time you Tarpet, that's 4 mana you don't have to use to defend with a mana leak or something like that on the other turn.
Yeah.
And mana's obviously huge too, because Tech Edge is probably a staple in both decks, and they can just defend that way.
Right. We see there's already 3 Tech Edges on the board right now.
It's really peculiar how Mana Denial has become like a forefront in Standard.
Yeah.
As it used to be, you'd think Mana Denial, you think like an aggro Ponza deck, like decks,
back in the day, right?
Like, but nowadays it's how the control decks fight each other by controlling what you can access, what you can't, and even like the control decks want Mana Denial against the aggro decks, which is a complete reversal.
And speaking of Mana Denial, Chapin just used 2 Tech Edges, I think. He had 2. There were 3 Tech Edges on the board. Now there are none. So
got rid of those lands. That's a trick a lot of people don't realize they can run.
Yeah, it's quite a difference. Now I remember seeing Spreading Seas and just shrugging it off. Who cares about making the land into an island, right?
I definitely almost lost a match to someone who I couldn't believe should be beating me in a match of Magic, thanks to their sweet Spreading Seas deck. Contaminated Bond did a similar thing every now and then.
Right.
You don't really think about it, but that kind of stuff can accumulate so weirdly.
Yeah, I remember, what was it, last fall? Was it Jerry, I think, had the Spread 'em list, and that was, I think, the first time we saw that being used, and it was kind of like, is Spreading Seas a real card? Yeah. And here we are, a year later, and it certainly is.
It's managed to hold on even after Jund, which was obviously the deck that it crushed the most.
Yeah.
But its applications have just stuck. Add draw a card to a card, and it becomes surprisingly playable no matter what the card is.
And we were saying earlier about how good it is against vampires. Even a mono-colored deck, even a mono-black vampires list, because that deck needs so much black mana.
Yeah, especially Calastria Highborn, it so limits what they can do with that in conjunction with Bloodgas as Seers.
So it looked like Chapin played either a Duress or an Inquisition. I kind of missed it, but I know there were some...
We went off board there.
Yeah, we're a little off screen here, but we've got at least I saw a full art Day of Judgment in hand. Not that is super relevant. I mean, it's relevant against a Grave Titan. But at the moment, it's not super relevant. So
it seems like this game's going to get decided by the Walkers.
It's basically
behind, right?
We've got Jace and Vencer.
Jace is in charge.
Yeah, Jace is absolutely just sitting there, making the game.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it was.
Did he whiff on the Inquisition?
I don't know. He whiffed on an earlier Inquisition, so I think you're right. So that might be just 2 Inquisitions that he whiffed on. Yeah.
No mana leaks in sight?
Yeah, so let's see.
Plus 2, targeting an island. Yep. Pass turn.
Oh, and Gavin's back, which means I get to go do writer league.
All right. Well,
guys.
thanks for
Gavin.
thanks for joining us for the moment, Glenn.
I'm sure I'll see you later.
Everybody, Gavin is back.
So what I miss?
Jace and Venser.
Jason Venture sounds about right.
Yeah, there was some tectonic edge action, which is why Carlos has only 3 lands on board. Chapin had 2 active edges, and Carlos had 1, and I don't know who activated what, but what ended up happening was no tectonic edges. But Chapin seems to, well, obviously with Jace on board, is having no issues hitting his mana, and Venser is sitting there not really doing all that much. I assume he's been pretty much just ticking lands, blinking lands. At least we got a die on that Venser because he was using the paper. He was using the ripped up paper.
I mean, the Venture doesn't really look that impressive in his deck. I mean, he can reset his Planeswalkers, which is nice, but for creatures he just has 4 Squadron Hawks, which Venturing not so strong.
Right. And I mean, he can. It is something he can do if he wants. Sun Titan.
But Sun Titan is the big one. Obviously, Venturing Sun Titan is
venturing a Sun Titan to get back a Squadron Hawk to grab more seems good. I mean, it all depends on if those Sun Titans. I mean, if those Squadron Hawks are still in your deck.
So Chapin's got a duress here, which will probably strip something out of Carlos's hand. Those discard spells are just so crucial in this matchup.
Yeah, but funny, he's whiffed on 2 Inquisitions.
Well, so he spell pierces here, and I wonder if he's going to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Inquisition is an issue because there's not always things to hit, but with duress, they either have nothing or they're going to be able to hit something.
All right, I won't.
Right. Well, he's at least successfully duressed away a spell pierce, right? I mean.
So he chose to not pay for the duress.
He says that's fine.
Which
Got the spell pierce.
Which is, I think, there's the thought process that's exactly what Carlos wanted him to do.
Right. So Chapin Fate Seals and says keep it. Looks like he is swinging at the Venser with a tar pit, making sure that Venser is not going to go ultimate anytime soon, which is pretty important. That Venser's ultimate could be bad, but yeah, he goes and uses his Tectonic Edge to destroy Carlos's 4th land. So Carlos is back down to 3 lands. Looks like he just ticks Venser up. Blinked his island. Chapin has looks like
spot for Carlos.
Yeah,
3 lands.
Only 3. Yeah, he just had 4, but Chapin drew another Tectonic Edge. So
and
Chapin's got an Inquisition,
and that Jace is taking care of any business
mana leak
that Carlos might have.
Chapin's not playing Ulamog, is he? No. Okay. For some reason, trying
Chapin's
to see what's
only
in his hand.
creatures are 3 Grave Titans and 1 Vampire Nighthawk.
And another one in the sideboard.
And that once again goes back to the thing of building a deck for 75. 1 main deck Vampire Nighthawk might sound kind of strange, but he was like, well, I need him against some matchups, and I'll main deck 1 and sideboard the other. Rough position for Carlos here.
What's that? Yeah. We'll look at the top part of your library. Okay.
Alright, that's Chapin doing his thing. He's locking his opponent out.
In position of how's it looking?
Doing a great job of it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if he's Fate Sealing, it's not going to be, Carlos is going to be gone. We've got Cancel, Mana Leak, Day of Judgment, Day of Judgment. What are those other 2 full arts? Or is that
Gideon. I think it's just another Day of Judgment.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just all things that Chapin's like, yeah, alright, fine.
Yeah.
I have this Jace.
None of that deals with my active Jace.
Even if the Jace is, I know
there
you can't
goes
see the
Venser.
Jace, it's off screen, but
Yeah.
the Jace is there.
Right. Yeah, the Jace is under the graphic. Yeah, under round 5.
Destroy Glacial Fortress.
Jace is under the graphic, so we're having trouble seeing.
We're gonna try and get that Jace in clear view for you because
Fate Seal.
otherwise it looks like Patrick is just running big cheats over there. Yeah,
Keep
the
it,
top
yeah.
card of your deck.
Yeah, scoop it up. It doesn't even matter. He's gonna go and say, put the Jace never mind.
I mean, I'm sure he'll just tell him.
Yeah.
To keep the area.
I mean, they're staying in range of our tape, which you guys can maybe barely see, but we've got a field marked off for them, but unfortunately the graphics can cover parts of it. So there's Patrick. Going with the sideboard plan, shuffling his sideboard in, looks like, and then going through and picking them out. That's something that someone recommended to me back years ago, I want to say like in like 2002 or 2003, and I thought that was always such a great idea, doing the shuffle your sideboard into your deck and then pull 15 cards out rather than just digging through your 15 card sideboard and putting 4 cards down, and then obviously I decided in 4 cards.
You have to be careful about that though. Last year I was playing I was playing Escape Drift and a PTQ, and I had Boseiju 2 filters all on my sideboard, and I just put in 15 cards, take 15 out, no big deal. Until I accidentally drew my Boseiju against Zoo in my opening hand because I shuffled my whole sideboard in and forgot to take the Boseiju out.
Oh, right.
Would not be the first time that has occurred.
Well, yeah, that's always really important. It's just know your deck list cold.
Well, it's not just knowing your deck list, but it's so easy. You only have 3 minutes to sideboard.
Yeah.
And you want to shuffle in that time too, and you're like putting all these cards in, and you go through, take things out, and maybe. Like, I like to vary up my sideboarding a lot. I mean, I love giving sideboard plans. I love telling people how to sideboard. But at the end of the day, I think it's important that you know how to adjust your sideboarding based on what your opponent has. Because all sideboard different against the same deck, depending on who's playing it, what I've seen them play, and so on, if I'm on the play or the draw. And there are times that...
That's it. It's not blinking. It's okay.
No, it's cool. So there are times where I want to, change up my sideboarding, and I'll be like, okay, I'll put in 15 cards, go to take out my 15, and then, think I did it correctly, and I just left something wrong in. Sometimes it works in my favor. I've definitely kept, one time I kept a Celestial Purge in against some deck that I thought had no, black or red permanent, and then it was against a control deck, and I just got their Johnny Vengeance that they had with it or something like that.
Like luck.
But it doesn't happen very often, obviously. It's something you want to avoid, but you have to be careful. But yeah, otherwise, shuffling in 15, taking 15 out is done. I do not, personally, maybe you can do it, I do not recommend using this tactic in sealed. Shuffling in your whole sideboard, then taking out your deck, not such a good idea.
No, but in constructed is what I was kind of referring to. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Celestial Purge thing. That's definitely happened to me, where I think I had the main deck because there was so much Jund around at the time, and I think I ended up playing against a mono green deck. So I'm like, okay, that's a card I can take out because I had him in my hand. And I go to game 2 and I whatever way I sideboarded, and then I drew the Celestial Purge, and was like, man, I can't believe I was sitting there agonizing over what to take out, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I ended up making the decision going into the game and finding a card that obviously was not relevant for whatever reason. I just overlooked it when I was sideboarding, and that's one of those situations where it comes in handy to actually have maybe notes for sideboarding, so you just know this is what I'm taking out and this is what I'm putting in, and then you don't really need to think about it and you make those kind of mistakes. But it's tough to have notes against decks that you don't expect. For example, Eldrazi Green in that last match may have had a little trouble having notes prepared to play against a Vengevine Necrotic Ooze deck. So.
Yeah, and for those of you just tuning in who didn't see that deck before, I'm sure it'll be up in the coverage later. It's a really interesting deck. It had a Johnny Goldmane, Vengevine, Necrotic Ooze, Giganomancer. He's 3-1 now. We'll see how he does, but it's a very cool brew. Squadron Hawk tied all together. But at the match at hand, for those of you just tuning in, we've got Patrick Chapin on the right side of your screen.
There he is.
Blue-black control. Pretty stock list, except he's got these Memnites in his sideboard, which are really interesting.
Yeah.
And on the left, we've got Carlos Alay, who is playing blue-white control. Got a couple interesting things. He's got Vencers, but mostly it's just Kago.
Although we haven't seen the call yet, have we?
No, we have not seen the Squadron Hawk yet, but I assume if he is going to probably win this match, he'll probably have cast him at least once. And that's really all you need sometimes. And we talked earlier about how good Squadron Hawk is in this deck. I mean, because you can cast it and go with your Squadron Hawks. You can use Jace, put cards back on top.
Yeah.
Shuffle your library with Squadron Hawk. Go with your other Squadron Hawks. It has so many different abilities. Anyway, for those just tuning in, you were watching the Star City Games Open Series in San Jose live on SCG Live. This is Gavin Verhey, and I'm joined here by Joey Pasco of Yo MTG Taps on Star City Games. And this is a pretty good control feature match here. Patrick Chapin, the hardened innovator on the right-hand side of the screen. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's been in a lot of Pro Tours. He's played a lot of Magic. On the left side, we've got the up-and-comer, Carlos Alay. I assume he's a local player who's playing blue-white and trying to take a crack at beating
the innovator. Yeah. So there's the Squadron Hawk we were just mentioning.
Yep,
I
and
think,
there it is. Squadron Hawk comes down.
I think Carlos grabbed two.
Hawks.
Yeah, he grabbed 2 copies, I believe, just to fill his hand. Obviously, no point in getting all 3 if it's going to put him in a situation to discard one.
Exactly. And we were talking about this earlier about how in the control matchup Squadron Hawk is so good because a 1/1 flyer obviously isn't that strong on its own, but like, what are you going to do? You play it, and they're like, well, I can't disfigure it, right? That's kind of silly. I don't want to consume the meek or anything. And it just sits there, whittling at your life total, whittling down your Jaces, and all these different dynamics, and, eventually it just wins. When the deck came out at Worlds, a lot of people were like, I don't get it. What are these Squadron Hawks doing? And then when people saw it in action, I think they really began to understand the full potential of that card.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good start by Carlos here. He's got a Jace on 3 with more Squadron Hawks in his hand. And Max McCullough and I did a series on Star City Games maybe 2 months ago now, and we played a lot of blue-white against blue-black, and what we found, the player with the active Jace almost always wins, and only, I think, 1 game did the active Jace player not win, and just the stream of cards is just so hard to beat. And with that turn 3 Jace, it looks like he's going to be trying to pull ahead this game over Patrick Chapin.
And look who it is. Is that Baneslayer Angel? It is. Baneslayer Angel.
So Baneslayer Angel came out of the sideboard for LA.
We were wondering where she's been in Standard, and we get a cameo appearance at least to see her in Carlos's hand.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the sideboard, he probably brought in those Baneslayers, I would imagine.
Yeah, Celestial Purge.
And maybe the Purges, although they only get rid of Grave Titan, so it depends on what his plan is. If he's keeping in Day of Judgment, he might not need those as much.
Creeping Tar Pit.
I think he does the Creeping Tar Pit as well. He gets another Jace, obviously, bringing him up to 3 Jace Balerion and 4 Mind Sculptors. Other than that, I don't really think he has a lot to bring in.
What do you think about Day of Judgment? Does he keep any in?
I think you do. When I was watching the Guillaumes play in the top 8.
Right, Guillaume Matignon and Guillaume Wafo-Tapa playing mirror matches, blue-black.
Right, and Paulo Vito Dama Rosa. When I was watching them play in the top 8 Worlds, they kept their big removal spells in because they have to wipe the board. If your opponent plays a Grave Titan, it's so crucial that you've got a way to deal with it, right? And they were using Consume the Meek just to get rid of the tokens. So I assume that Day of Judgment has got to be good out of the blue-white sideboard.
Yeah. And I wonder, because he's got how many main deck? He's got 3 main and 1 sideboard. So
I think he's probably safe just
leaving the 3.
Leaving them in, and yeah, they're slow, but when it counts, they're important. Maybe you shave down to 2.
Right.
But I think that's a really interesting discussion. Right. Like, a lot of people might not leave theirs in. I think some people would leave theirs in. It's interesting to see the different dynamics you can take on that.
All right, so obviously,
shuts down that tar pit.
Right? Yeah, Chapin, who I almost just called Jace.
I mean, they're really one and the same. At this point,
right? Exactly.
Oh, he's just missing the hoodie.
Yeah, he took the Jace the Mind Sculptor out of Carlos's hand with a duress, and then Carlos spreading seized the black mana on Chapin's side of the board by taking care of that tar pit. So Chapin preordains. He sees a Grave Titan and something he puts on top, and he puts the Grave Titan on the bottom, I believe because he's holding another Grave Titan.
To the main event stage, please. Elliot Young to the main event stage, please.
All right, and so Carlos was going to be in a really good position this game. Unlike last game where he was tectonic edged into oblivion, he got the turn 3 Jace, he's got Squadron Hawk Clock, and And as we said, they're just unassuming. They're just the 1/1 flyers, but that's 2 damage a turn. And in a control mirror match, often that's all you need.
Is that a squadron clock, I guess?
Squadron clock, indeed. Everyone needs a Rich Agan.
Yeah. All right. Squadron clock. I guess I've got to speak with like a British accent. That was terrible.
We should not do that.
I'm not even going to try that
Once
again.
I did a podcast entirely in a British accent.
I think I remember
people
that.
did not enjoy it.
No. The funny thing is, I feel like I can do a pretty good one when I'm in the car by myself. Yes, I talk to myself in the car
I mean, who doesn't?
in an accent.
I mean, look, I'm sure if someone just like put a recorder in my house and just let it run for a week, there'd be so many strange things they'd pick up on the other, and so many accents and weird words and phrases I say to myself over and over again. It's
Absolutely.
It's very weird.
I have fun talking to myself, you know.
It's true.
Although I definitely talk to myself when I'm angry too.
Like make up words, you know.
Oh yeah.
Cool things.
Which Chapin do? He slid it right under the graphic there. Was that a creeping tar pit that he attacked with?
Yeah.
Oh, he took out the Jace.
Yeah,
the baby
Jace.
Jace.
With the tar pit.
Now we were when Glenn was over here. He was talking about how the mana denial in standard right now in control decks. It's the way the control decks seem to be able to fight each other, and we saw Chapin take advantage of it in Game 1, and now Carlos doing it in Game 2 with the spreading seeds on the tar pit, denying black mana. Chapin has obviously drawn another tar pit, which is relevant. Now wait a second, does he have? Where did he get the black mana to activate the other tar pit? That's
He's got a swamp.
Oh, that's a swamp. I'm sorry, glare.
No, it's cool. I totally agree. It's different than in other formats because normally, like, control matchups are, and here comes Sun Titan,
Sunny Delight,
getting back Jace. That's going to be rough. Anyway, normally in control matchups, it's about like your counter magic or maybe your removal, like your card drawing, your Jaces. But an interesting paradigm we haven't really seen before is this land destruction route. Because not only do you have the tectonic edges, but there are these man lands coming in and out, and you can just kill them, and it sets them back a land too. And lands are so important. All right, so we've got a drum roll, please. Clash of the Titans here. We've got Sun Titan versus Grave Titan.
I love it.
You just know, like, Carlos just looks at his hand, he's like, all right, I'm done playing control, it's time to brawl, here comes the Sun Titan. Captain Chapin's like, all right, I got it, here comes the Grave Titan.
Right on.
And now it's time for them to come together and clash, and let's see what we get. Grave Titan might be stronger if left unopposed for a while, but that Sun Titan's going to make sure that Jace doesn't go anywhere, he's going to be able to bring a lot of tectonic edges back, he's got quite a few options.
So what do you think, can Rashad's zombies tussle with some of those Squadron Hawks? I mean, those Hawks obviously have the choice of whether to tussle with the zombies.
Yeah, I mean, I assume Carlos left Day of Judgment in his deck, or brought Celestial Purge or something to deal with the Grave Titan.
Right, exactly.
If all that's going on are the zombie tokens, it's not a big deal. But if he can't deal with them immediately and there's going to be more zombie tokens, those Squadron Hawks might have to turn into chump blockers pretty fast. So much for the Squadron Clocks.
Yeah, well, he's going for the Squadron Clock.
Well, bringing it.
So does
Did he
that
serve with the Sun Titan as well?
No, just the Squadron Clock.
That's interesting.
Baltimore Ravens 21, Pittsburgh Steelers 14, with 7:25 remaining in the third quarter.
Okay, it sounds like the Steelers scored, but my heart.
Will Elliot Young please come to the main event stage? Elliot Young to the main event stage, please.
That attack was interesting because if he attacks with the Grave Titan or with the Sun Titan, and Chapin blocks with the Grave Titan, then they trade up. And normally that's a good trade there, so that indicates to me that Carlos thinks he's in a favorable position. Because if he doesn't have a way to wipe the board or anything like that, it feels like you really want to try and offer the trade there. Because it feels like it's going to either get chump blocked or the patch is just going to take 6.
Right.
So that attack's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So Chapin's deep in the tank here. He knows that these moves are crucial. Everyone counts. He's facing down Gideon now.
Jace Boyer.
And he plays.
And he trades up Jace's.
Yeah. And he goes with
land a Jace of his own.
Yeah,
Yep,
Jace
here
the
comes
Mind Sculptor.
Turn Sun Titan 3.
Mind Sculpturo.
Sculpting minds like Jace's, do you comprehend me? That's one of the lines in Chapin's song.
Okay. For a second I was going to berate you, but the fact that it's part of the song, I'll let it go. All right, so Grave Titan gets in the red zone, over the
Along
blue
with,
zone, as
along
we're
with
here.
some Rashads.
And and Rashad is looking good and taking down his opponent.
Yeah. So that was obviously Gideon. He had to attack, I think.
Yeah.
And Gideon gone.
Gideon is always the opponent.
Right, so did Jace bounce the Titan? Is that what happened?
I think that's what must have occurred.
Yeah.
So Jace bounced the Titan.
Which was probably the right play. It's going
Right.
to make his opponent replay the Titan.
Because the Titan would have attacked anyway, so you still get the trigger either way.
Does Chapin doesn't have any mana up, does it? Does he? I don't see any. So if his opponent replays Sun Titan, gets back Jace, it's the Jace seal. Kills the Mind Sculptor. Seems like a reasonably strong play.
But I mean, at the same time, like he knows that Chapin has more tricks, right? If he taps out for that Sun Titan again, Chapin can just as easily be like, all right, untap another Jace, bouncer guy, and then he just cracks in.
Yeah,
And Carlos is at 19, but it's still going to be rough. I mean, look at that board state: 4 zombies and a Grave Titan.
Yep, he did exactly what I said. Yeah.
So he opts to bring down the Sun Titan, which I think he has to do. But Chapin could have any number of tricks in his sleeve. And here comes Squadron Hawk, I would guess, right? Yep,
Yeah,
Squadron
good
Hawk.
call. Any left in the library?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But
Unless you just decline to search.
yeah,
Just don't need them.
Yeah, I don't really think that's as likely as there not being any left in his library.
Alright, so let's see what Patrick's got here. Can't quite see his hands, but he's certainly thinking about his options. Like the players played fast early on, so as you can tell, they know that by playing fast early on, it means they can take a little more time. They can take a little more time here, yeah, that's when it counts. These tiny little decisions that can make a big difference.
Yeah. So let's see here. There's a Jace. It's a little Jace though. Draws a Doomblade, not exactly what he wants against the Squadron Hawks, but it's good against the Sun Titan, which I couldn't see, or else I would have just straight up said it's good for the Sun Titan. His opponent is tapped out, so that Sun Titan certainly will eat the Doomblade. He goes with an Inquisition. Interesting. And we've got Island, Squadron Hawk, Jace.
Double Jace in the last Squadron Hawk.
So there goes. I guess he's going to take Baby Jace because Inquisition is 3 mana or less.
So we're about to be joined by Star City Games Open competitor and grinder and
not grinder.
writer Adam Prozac.
What's up, Gavin?
Hey, it's good to see you.
How's it going?
So for those of you just joining us, I'm Gavin Verhey, and to my, I guess you can't see, but to my right is Joey Pasco, and to my left now is Adam Prozac. How are you doing today, Adam?
I'm doing pretty good. Today's a good day.
What's your record?
5-0.
5-0.
That's a good record.
Yeah,
That's a good record to have.
Can't get better.
No.
What were you choosing to ball with today?
I am battling rugs. I literally woke up today having blue light sleep up, and woke up and decided to play rug. Big old day of switches. Not my style.
But
I generally know what I'm gonna do, long before a tournament.
seems to have benefited you well today, though.
Yeah.
So far.
What made you change?
I have experience with rug, really more.
Okay.
More so.
That makes
I'm
sense.
familiar playing either deck. Either way, I get to play Jace.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
Right, exactly. That's what's the most important thing for me too.
You took 14. Tomorrow I get to play Jace too.
Yeah, awesome. Such a good card across formats.
Tomorrow's the real deal.
I will destroy your colony.
Oh yeah.
Is this match live?
This match is live. Yeah, we are watching Patrick Chapin with blue-black control versus Carlos Alay with blue-white control. And looks like Alay had the early advantage, but with the Squadron Hawk and Jace, but Chapin managed to stick a Grave Titan. And as we can see, it's all been downhill from there.
Grave Titan isn't a big deal. I beat 3 of them in game 1 of my last match.
Seriously?
Wow.
Seriously.
That's pretty impressive.
I was impressed with myself too.
Wow, what'd you do?
Well, Grave Titan had 1 of them on lockdown. And they were consecutive. I had Grave Titan already in play. And then lockdown is first Grave Titan. And he just cast the second too. And all three were in consecutive turns. But I had like 2 Cobras, 2 Beasts from Garruk, 2 Raging Ravines that my Lotus Cobra was able to turn them both on.
Brainstorm.
And so I was just able to send like a huge alpha swing into his zombies that returned. And I got to untap, like he had this attack with his Grave Titan to get walkers. And after a while, like, he would have managed if his last land was not a fetch land. It was just an untap land. Because he was at 1 and he needed the last land to activate.